The Overland Track in Tasmania is arguably Australia's premier bushwalking track. In March, a group of friends and some of our kids decided to walk the Overland. The Overland is some 65 or so kilometres long, from Cradle Mountain in the north to Lake St Clair in the south. The weather in the weeks before our walk had been bad. High winds, rain and snow. We all packed ready for whatever Tassie would throw at us. Then, as the start approached, the forecast changed to 5 days of sunshine. I'd walked the Overland a few times before, and always through rain and snow. Could the forecast be correct? Would our Overland experience be a doddle, or did Tasmania have something unforeseen for the hardy members of the DABC? In brilliant sunshine, we made our way up past Wombat Pool and then the steep climb up past Crater Lake on the way to Marion's Lookout. We stopped at Marion's Lookout for a quick bite to eat. It was a stunning day. Could today be the day that I finally get to summit Cradle Mountain? We started off optimistically. It's a much tougher climb than any of us expected. A couple of times I thought about whether I needed to summit, but each time a route would declare itself and I forged on. Sweaty and pleased, we reached the summit. My dad had walked the Overland twice. He wasn't an overly spiritual person, but he declared this part of the world to be God's cathedral. He passed away the month before we walked. Claire suggested I spread some of his ashes on the summit. In the glorious afternoon light, that's what I did. The summit offered views of the walk ahead and also of the walk we'd completed that morning. As the afternoon was getting on and the temperature was starting to drop, it was time to get to Waterfall Valley Hut. It's a beautiful walk past the southern part of Cradle Mountain. As the sun set, we finally made it to Waterfall Valley Hut. The temperature was really starting to drop now, and we were keen to get set up with our camp.
I don't know, 300 metres back. It's pretty epic. How's the hut?
Beautiful. Like absolutely beautiful.
Oh, nice. Okay. Let's crack on then.
It had been a great first day on the Overland. We had a freezing night at Waterfall Valley. Our tent platforms and tents had a thin layer of ice to welcome the sleepy riser if they weren't careful with their footing. After a coffee and a quick breakfast, we hit the track as a stunning morning announced itself on the Overland. We stopped at the turn-off to Lake Will for a morning snack. Some of the group did the sidewalk while the rest of us continued in the bright sunshine. In the distance we could see the scarring from the recent bushfires that had closed the track for a week or so in the lead up to our walk. Day 2 was a relatively short day and Lake Windermere soon came into view. There is a new hut here and I have to say it's a vast improvement on the old one. Hamaz even had time to serenade some foreigners in the afternoon sunshine. A few of our group decided on an afternoon swim. The water was cold but refreshing. We'd heard a tale that there was a logbook and a bottle of whiskey on the little island in the lake. We would neither confirm nor deny the rumour. As the afternoon wore on, we all relaxed, chatted, played games, and the guitar ukulele. Then we heard some shouting from the other side of the hut. Close to where a group was setting up tent, a tiger snake had been seen mooching about. It seemed to have an interest in the boardwalk between the hut and the toilets. Very inconvenient. Thankfully it moved away into the bush. Well, towards the tent sites anyway. We were glad we were sleeping inside tonight. Day 2 had been a short but a really good day. We woke on day 3 to low and fast moving cloud and a lower temperature. As we left the hut, I checked in on the old hut which is now used for rangers. I'd stayed in that hut 2 times previously, both in pouring rain.
It's the old hut, which is now for rangers.
As we headed south, we moved into the area damaged by the recent bushfires. It was only on foot that we got a sense of the vast scale of the damage that had been done. As the morning moved on, the cloud lifted, and we began to walk again in bright sunshine. The track here alternates between walking through beautiful forests and open plains with expansive views to the south.
Steve was more for snoring than shagging.
In the distance we could see tomorrow's walk up through Pelion Gap and Mount Ossa without a cloud in sight of it. We eventually made it to Frog Flats. On past walks, it had been raining in this area, and it presented as a boggy and completely inhospitable place to camp. But in the early afternoon sun, it didn't seem too bad. A little further on, a massive tree had fallen over the track and we were forced to bush bash around it. Then, after a brief ascent, we had the flat walk to Pelion Hut.
Oh, 10 minutes, that's the best thing I've seen. That's like, oh.
We were glad to arrive after a decent day of walking. The hut was pretty full with walkers converging from the Arm River track as well as the Overland. I decided to sleep in the tent, mainly as I would be sleeping on grass, something made essential after one of our air mattresses developed a series of leaks. I was more than glad when a fellow hiker lent me her spare foam mattress. I wasn't looking forward to the prospect of sleeping on the ground without one. As the sun set, we gathered on the deck overlooking Mount Oakley as we ate dinner. After a less than restful night, we quickly ate breakfast and packed for the day ahead. The track winds its way slowly, ever upward towards Pelion Gap. We had discussed what our options may be for the day. If it was fine, we would take on Mount Ossa. If not, we'd get to Clair Hut and then decide whether to keep going or stop for the night. After days of clear skies, today Mount Ossa remained hidden behind a thick blanket of cloud. We decided not to attempt an ascent, instead passing through the gap and down into the far valley. My memories of Clair Hut weren't good. The last time here, both Dad and I had a stomach bug and it was pouring rain. Before that, we'd arrived in pouring rain after an aborted attempt on Mount Ossa. We'd turned back as a blizzard was brewing and a large and rather steep snowdrift looked too dangerous to cross. Clair Hut is now a beautiful, light and contemporary structure and one of the most beautiful places on the whole track. As we ate some snacks, we had to make a decision. We had 2 more nights before we were due to be picked up from Lake St Clair. Do we stay at Clair Hut, but then have either a very long day following or very early day thereafter, or keep walking to Windy Ridge Hut? We decided on the latter, as it would mean, in theory, easier days following. As the afternoon wore on, we walked past Duquesne Hut, now being restored. There is a small camp area here and a toilet. It's such a lovely setting for a hut. James, Lou and Evie decided to go down to the falls and take a dip. Apparently the water was freezing. And then, after what seemed like hours of walking over tortuous tree roots, we finally started the last ascent to Duquesne Gap. The descent from the gap is steep, especially on tired legs. We estimated we'd have about an hour of daylight left when we got to the hut to either set up tents or make beds and prepare dinner. The hut was busy and we were lucky to get a spot to sleep. After the huts further up the trail, Windy Ridge feels pretty grim, with its wide sleeping areas made of cold and hard form ply. The kitchen was even more grim. Though there was still light outside, it was almost pitch black in the kitchen.
Very cold morning heading out of Windy Ridge. 15 years ago the hut was state of the art, but these days it's pretty grim. Very dark. Whoever designed it with virtually no windows needs to be taken out the back and their misery. Anyway, off to Narcissus Hut.
After what can only be described as the worst night I've had on the Overland ever, we woke early to get the hell out of Windy Ridge Hut. From here it was a reasonably gentle descent to Narcissus Hut. At that hut there were more decisions to be made. The clouds had closed in and a fierce and freezing wind was coming off Lake St Clair. Do we stay at Narcissus Hut? Do we walk to Echo Point? Do we catch the ferry? Or do we walk out to Cynthia Bay? So many decisions to be made.
Maximum one person. See you, dude. Good luck. Hope you make it to the other side.
In the end, some of our group decided to get the ferry, while James, Lou and I decided to walk out. Tonight's bed was a problem for future me.
There's one big tree.
If you have the time, I highly recommend the walk out around Lake St Clair. It is stunning. We stopped at Echo Point briefly. As the day wore on, the temperature kept dropping, so we kept moving quickly.
Follow the yellow brick road through here.
Oh, bosh. Mate.
a few hours the end came into view. It had been a great walk and a good first walk for a few of the crew. There's nothing left to do now but grab a few photos, shake hands, have a hug, and then enjoy a well-earned beer.